What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, and the New York Giants lost another football game. Shocker! This time to the Green Bay Packers. This time, the first time that Mike Kafka was the interim head coach for the New York Giants. So he was calling the plays on offense as he usually does, but he was overseeing the entirety of the operation. First game outside of the Brian Daboll era for the New York Giants, and I'll say this. I think Mike Kafka did a pretty good job. He impressed me in many ways. He definitely didn't hold the team back necessarily, but they were battling against a good Packers team at home, although it felt like a road game with the way that there were so many Packers fans in the stands and the way that wind was blowing. It felt like they were at Lambeau rather than MetLife. But nevertheless, with a backup quarterback against a really good football team in the Packers, the Giants come up a touchdown short. But there were some positives to take away, a lot of negatives to discuss as well. And we're just going to go ahead and give you guys our honest reaction immediately following this game right here on the channel. So before we dive into it, Alex, what are your thoughts on the game? How are you feeling about it? And what was your impression of Mike Kafka in his first game on the sidelines for the Giants as the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants lost, obviously, so my emotions are what they usually are on Sunday afternoons. A little bit disappointed, but nonetheless, this was a different feel to the game a bit. Like you said, Mike Kafka, his first game as interim head coach, it felt a lot more in control. He felt like he had a lot more control over this game. However, I would like to point out that, Jameis Winston got away with maybe 4 interceptions. Like, there were multiple passes that were dropped that by, the Packers DBs hit out of their hands, just straight up dropped. Like, this should have probably been more of a lopsided game than it was, but the Giants fought, and the offensive line, that might have been the best offensive line performance I've seen from the Giants in a decade, and that's not even exaggerating. They were unbelievable today. The pass protection was phenomenal. Third downs, Jameis Winston was sitting back there sipping tea before he got rid of the ball. Now, if Jalen Hyatt could run a route properly, that would be fucking nice, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, you can't. Apologies for my language, but frustrating. We'll get to that. The run game. I mean, Tyrone Tracy looked fantastic. Devin Singletary looked really good today. I was so impressed. Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scottaboo are going to be a really good dominant duo in the future. We got 2 really solid starting running backs on this team. I'm excited about them.
Bro, Devin Singletary had 2 touchdowns. Even he
Yeah.
looked great. He was running the ball effectively. The Giants have 3 good running backs on their roster, the same way that we thought they did before the season began. We didn't really see that come to fruition throughout the year. Scatterbo took over much of the rushing attempts early in the season. Tracy was obviously injured, and Singletary just wasn't utilized when Brian Daboll was the head coach. But then today, there was a good mixture in that backfield, and I thought both Singletary and Tracy ran the ball really well. I was impressed with that. I thought 2 major positive takeaways that I will have from this game. Like you said, the offensive line played great. They were awesome in pass protection, but this was easily the best run blocking performance from start to finish that I've seen from the New York Giants offensive line all season. All year, the run blocking has been an issue. Today, they were stout while rushing and blocking ahead for Singletary and Tracy. And they were finding lanes. And Kafka was dialing up a pretty solid rushing attack with his play calling, some really creative runs in there. So I was super impressed with that from Mike Kafka. The fact that he was able to get the most out of this ground game for the New York Giants and scheme some blocking and some rushing lanes open through that offensive line. That was something that really did impress me from today's performance from Mike Kafka.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the offensive line was creating running lanes, and the running backs were not going down at first contact either, which I thought was really encouraging. Like, they were fighting for extra yards. They kept drives alive. I mean, you got to love the Jameis Winston 10-yard QB sneak, too. There was a lot of stuff that I liked from this game. Like, Winston made some nice throws. He was aggressive. He was him. Like, that's his brand. He's going to throw 4 picks, but he also might win you the game somehow at the same time. Like, that's just the Winston experience. But he looked to be a lot more in control, and he brought a lot of energy and kind of pizzazz to this offense. But, there's a lot on the defensive side that I do have questions about. And I mean, I don't think Shane Bowen should be the DC anymore. I know they wanted to give Mike Kafka the reins here and let him make that decision. I just don't think that, some of the personnel decisions make a lot of sense. Deonte Banks, I clipped 3 different plays where he did not try to tackle somebody, or he didn't even know where he was. Like, straight up was standing in the middle of the field, looking around for where the ball was. You can go find it on my Twitter. It was disgusting levels of effort. So, I think that they're going to watch that film. I would not be surprised if Deonte Banks was not starting next week, like benched permanently type not starting.
He should be benched. And the only reason he was out there today is because Paulson and Debo suffered a
Yep.
setback during pregame warmups. And that's really unfortunate. Prayers up for Paulson and Debo. Hopefully he's able to get healthy and return ASAP. And the Giants really need him to. I mean, the lack of effort from Deonte Banks today was utterly embarrassing. And it really ties into a larger picture conversation here, Alex. That's a former first round pick that is just tanking this defense. He's unplayable. He's hurting the defense whenever he's on the field. He's not positively contributing. He's taking away from the unit. And you could say that about Deonte Banks. You could say that about a couple of these draft picks who are out there. How about Jalen Hyatt at the end of the game running a corner route? You could argue, okay, maybe Jameis Winston shouldn't have thrown the ball to Jalen Hyatt in that situation, but
That was
hey,
schemed to him.
listen, yeah, the play was schemed. Hyatt was told to run a corner route. He stopped running his route halfway through because he didn't feel he had the leverage. You got to cross over the face of the cornerback. Even Drew Brees was breaking it down, saying this is not on Jameis Winston. It wasn't on Jameis Winston. Granted, Jameis Winston threw a lot of turnover-worthy throws throughout the game, but on that play where he was picked off at the end of the game, Jalen Hyatt didn't even run his damn route. And that's a top 100 draft pick that the Giants traded up to select in 2023, who is unplayable and hurting the team when he's on the field. Then you have another 2023 first-round draft pick in Deonte Banks, hurting the team anytime he's on the field. But I'm supposed to sit here and believe that the Giants have a good young nucleus of talent and a great general manager running the show. I get it. He's had a lot of good moves, but there are some serious setbacks that he's had while drafting players that the Giants have not been able to overcome. And especially when their depth is this bad. I mean, these draft picks are hurting and tanking some of these games for the New York Giants.
Yeah, I mean, if the goal for ownership was to find out whether or not this team was better than it was, with Kafka than Brian Dable, I think they found out that it's just as bad, right? Like they literally saw, I mean, you're looking at Hyatt sold the game in the most critical moment. Like just run the route. At the very least, it's an incompletion. At the very least, you break up the pass, and you live to fight another down, right? Like at the very least, you have another chance. He completely sells the game. Deonte Banks is lost, like straight up lost, not exuding any effort. Corey Black, they just drafted him. Horrible. Should not be playing. I get he's only playing because everyone else is hurt or whatever. You look at just Abdul Carter didn't play the first series of this game. And apparently, according to Mike Kafka, it was because of they're keeping it in-house. There was some sort of reason for it. So, like, not to say that he had a bad game because Carter had a couple of solid moments. But, you look at Isaiah Hodgins, man, holy crap. Why the hell is he just getting on this team? Why the hell is Isaiah Hodgins just getting involved? He knows the whole system. He knows the whole offense already. He has already played in it with Mike Kafka. Why on earth did it take until Brian Dable to get fired for them to bring in Isaiah Hodgins? I mean, Joe Shane's decision-making and his moves were all on display today. Right? There were a couple of good ones. The offensive line looked really good today. Carmen Brasillo, that hiring looks fantastic. I got to keep him at all costs. But, Brian Burns had a really good game. He had 2 sacks today. There were a couple of individuals that performed well. But, I mean, come on, man. I mean, Flanagan Fowles took them until last week to figure out he was better than Darius Muasau. Like, this is like, the team is still bad. There's still bad players in this roster, and they lost the game for the Giants today. Jalen Hyatt lost that game for the Giants. Like, he did not give them a chance to win. Tyrone Tracy had a really good game. So, like, it was a lot of goods and bads, but the bads were really bad. Like, the bads showed up and lost us the game. It wasn't like, okay, this guy just didn't contribute that much. It was this guy stopped running a route in the middle of his route. Like, that's inexcusable levels of incompetence, and I think that has to go on Joe Shane's shoulders. But, I mean, another problem that the Giants have had, Anthony, I'll finish before I give it to you here, like, the kicking. I mean, the wind has been swirling and twirling. It was tough for everybody today. So I'll give Koo a little bit of a little bit of slack here. But guys, I could have made these in the Brunt. I could have made these in the Brunt shoes. And guys, if you're new to the channel here, one of our top sponsors here, the Brunt, the Oman boots, built for real work and real comfort. You know how most work boots either wreck your feet or fall apart after a few months. Brunt said that's nonsense. I'm kicking damn field goals in it. These are tough, durable, and feel great from day one. Honestly, I feel like if Graham Gano was wearing these, probably wouldn't get hurt every single day, every single week, just warming up. No break-in, no sore feet. Whether you're working around the house, on the job site, or even running routes like I have done on the show before, grab a pair of the Oman today and use the code FIRESIDE for $10 off your purchase. Now we're getting to the holidays. This is a tremendous gift for your dad, husband, brother, or any significant other that might be looking for a new pair of awesome boots.
Those boots are pretty fresh, I can't lie. And I watched the New York Giants fail to boot the kicks through the uprights today, as they have all season long. Maybe if they had the brunt boots on, they would have booted them through the uprights. Maybe Brandon McManus of the Packers as well. It's just a really bad kicking display for both teams today. Jamie Gillen, Alex, really bad punter. I mean, listen, he's had some highs, but his lows are like super detrimental lows to the team. Jamie Gillen's been, I mean, he had obviously the really bad punt last week versus Chicago. He had another one today. Jamie Gillen is one of those players that I thought needed a reevaluation by the New York Giants this past offseason. They chose to neglect a reevaluation of the entirety of the special teams unit, decided to say, oh, you know what, it was just, flukes, whatever it was, injuries. No, they needed to reevaluate that unit. They did not. And as a result of the special teams, while the unit itself has been pretty good while fielding kicks and covering kicks, the actual kicks themselves have been wildly inconsistent and oftentimes wildly inaccurate. So I didn't understand the process there in the offseason with Graham Gano and Jamie Gillen. But let's try and pull a couple more positives away from this, Alex. What I'll say is this: the New York Giants battled all the way down to the wire against the Green Bay Packers with a backup quarterback under center. That's a pretty good outcome, right? They only lost by one possession. Granted, they did blow another fourth quarter lead today. Shout out to Shane Bowen. That's become his specialty, is blowing fourth quarter leads. But Mike Kafka called a really good offense. He was in command. He had a calm, more mild-mannered approach on the sideline compared to Brian Dable, which I think was something that was positively welcomed by the players. And ultimately, Kafka did lead this team to play up against its competition while having a backup quarterback. And I am excited to see what this looks like when Jackson Dart's back on the field, because Kafka proved today that he can coach a football game as the head coach. He can do a good job. He can be competitive against a good football team. Jameis Winston was hardly the reason that the New York Giants lost this game, but with better quarterback play, you could argue that maybe they do win this game with Jackson Dart out there on the field. So hopefully Dart's ready to go next week. He was on the sideline today. He seemed to be in good spirits. He seems healthy. He seems like if the Giants were playing a playoff game today, Jackson Dart probably could have been out there and could have cleared concussion protocol, but they're taking it slow, taking their time and protecting him. But if he's out there next week, I got to say, I'm really excited to see Jackson Dart play in this Mike Kafka-led, head coaching-led team. What is your take on that, Alex? Just kind of the perspective that the Giants lost, but they lost narrowly with a backup quarterback. Maybe Mike Kafka and Jackson Dart could be a pretty exciting pairing to watch for the next coming weeks.
Listen, you get Dart back, get Slayton back, get Paulson Adebo back, like get this team a bit healthier, then we'll see the real version of this squad, right? You didn't have your quarterback, you didn't have your starting corner, which forced us to play Deontay Banks. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. The team is shredded. It was a really tough bill for, Kafka to cash this time around. And he stayed in the game. He almost won it. He almost got there to the goal line and had a chance to win it. So, I think that for the most part, I was encouraged by his decision-making. He seemed like he was poised. He was calm. Nothing stood out to me that was like, okay, that was really bad. The only thing that was like weird was the fake kneel on before the 2-minute warning from Jameis. I don't know if Winston just did that on his own, but maybe we'll find out at some point. That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It threw off the timing of the route completely. All he had to do was stand there upright, throw the ball, and Hodgins would have been looking at him. Instead, Hodgins was probably looking at him, didn't see Winston because he was below the line of script. He was below the freaking the visibility line of the offensive line. So he probably just dropped his eyes after thought he got sacked or something. Like, that was a stupid thing. I don't really understand why you would fake a kneel on, what was it, third down or second down, right before the 2-minute warning. But, that was the only thing that was like, okay, stupid. That was stupid. I also think they should have challenged that Wandale fumble. They ruled it an incompletion, but I thought that was a catch. After he lost the first one, he wanted to save the second challenge for later. Didn't end up using the second challenge. I think that would have been a worthwhile time to use it because they ended up punting it like immediately. They were driving. So I think that there was a couple of things that they're going to happen. It was his first game ever as a head coach, but for the most part, there wasn't anything glaring that was catastrophically bad. But there's another storyline here, Anthony, I wanted to ask you about. How about Jeff Hafley? That was a big audition for him, potentially for the Giants head coaching job. What did you think about his performance? I think the defense for the Packers got ran over today. I think they, from an offense like the Giants that should not have done much, they kind of got their asses kicked, and the offensive line came in and kicked their ass. So the players have to play. I know that effort maybe would not have been there. They probably thought they could just walk in and beat the Giants, which they did at the end of the day. But I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw, but obviously it's a very small sample size, and I don't think that'll factor in much when they if they bring him in for an interview.
Yeah, I think, listen, it was stock it down kind of day for Jeff Hafley, but I don't think it was so detrimental that he's no longer a candidate for the New York Giants head coaching job. At the end of the day, his defense came up big in the clutch, right? Micah Parsons with a strip sack to ice the game on the final play of the game. That was huge. Plus, Micah Parsons was getting after it every single play. I mean, he was having a good game, despite, of course, the Giants offensive line played well, as we said. Generally speaking, Micah Parsons also played well and got home quite a few times for some pressures and things like that. But I thought the secondary honestly played a lot better than the box scores might suggest. While Jameis Winston did move the ball effectively, while Jameis Winston did have a good game, the secondary was on a lot of those throws, just dropped 4 interceptions. So had they caught a few of those, the narrative is completely different. We're talking about Jeff Hafley's defense being really good today. But that has been a problem for Jeff Hafley's defense all season long. As I mentioned when I broke him down a couple episodes ago, this Packers defense only had 6 turnovers going into this week. That was tied with the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders for the second fewest turnovers forced all season long. So Hafley has not been forcing turnovers. His defense has been dropping a ridiculous amount of interceptions this season. And that's really just what you're seeing in this regard from Hafley and his defense. But I thought, listen, at the end of the day, Kafka deserves the credit. Rather than discrediting Hafley, I'm just going to credit Mike Kafka for putting together a really good game plan. He found a way to get the ball in the end zone several times with a backup quarterback. He schemed together the Giants' best rushing game of the season, arguably, at least since Cam Scadaboo's gone down. Credit goes to Kafka. I'd rather credit him than discredit Jeff Hafley, like I said, because I thought there still were moments where Jeff Hafley's defense rose to the occasion. Just some of the players didn't necessarily execute, but I thought Hafley put the players in a position to be successful. And also, the Giants got lucky on a couple plays, sure, with some of those missed interceptions, but they also just made some plays. Jameis Winston made some excellent tight window throws on 3rd and 4th down. If he doesn't make a dime of a throw on that 3rd down to Theo Johnson or 4th down, whatever it was, that out route to Theo, and that ball goes incomplete, narrative changes. You're saying Jeff Hafley's defense had the clamps on 3rd down, but it was really Winston calling or answering the call on those plays. So again, I'll just credit Winston. I'll credit Kafka. I won't discredit Hafley. Hafley's body of work is super impressive. And also buying into, or kind of adding on to a potential vote of confidence for Hafley. If he were to be hired as a Giants head coach, he's not just being hired to be the defensive play caller. He's being hired to be the CEO of everything. And we've heard him at the podium. He's really impressive. We saw him at Boston College. He's got experience being the CEO and being a head coach. There are definitely arguments that you still can make for Hafley. At the end of the day, yes, this was a stock down performance for Hafley, but I also think it was a stock up performance for Mike Kafka. Even though the New York Giants lost, I thought that he called a good offense. The Giants just need to make a change at defensive coordinator, in my opinion. I think that this defense is also just missing a lot of talent and has a lot of holes to fill. But really, this is going to be a long process. It's only game 1 of the Mike Kafka interim head coach era. Let's see how the next 6 games unfold.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see. I still don't think Kafka he'll probably get an interview, but I don't think he'll be the favorite for obvious reasons. I mean, you put a list together before the game, Anthony, via, I think, Jay Glazer. A lot of the coaches the Giants are considering have head coaching experience, like 90% of them. So they want someone who's going to come in here and know how to set a standard, know how to kind of get things going without the learning curve. And I think the Giants, all their head coaches have required massive learning curves, and some of them, all of them, have not gotten to the place they actually wanted them to. Dable was too inflammatory. He was too emotional, and he never really reined it in. He never really improved. Kafka is like the alter ego of Brian Dable. He is calm as a cucumber. Nobody knows if he has a personality. Like always, we don't even know if this guy has a personality, to be honest. Like it's a totally different vibe. So the team played hard today, though. I'll give Kafka that. The team today played hard, but usually there's that initial juice that the players get after the head coach gets fired. Like, things are unstable. Things are kind of up in the air. Like they're trying to set a new standard. This loss, like I got to see what happens next week. You know what I mean? I got to see what happens next week after this loss, because they played hard today, but then they lose again. And you just got to see how that affects the near future. But, getting Dart back, getting Slayton back, getting, Paulson and Debo back should help a lot. But this was another loss, man. I mean, look, the Giants are a 3-win football team. This is a situation where you kind of just look at the scoreboard and you're just thinking about the draft already, right? You're already a 2-win team, not even a 3-win team. You're looking at the draft
2-9.
already, and you're just thinking like, this team's picking top 5. Like this team is picking top
Probably.
5. Like there are not. I mean, the Browns are 2-7. Even the Dolphins are 4-7. The Commanders are 3-8. The Falcons are 3-7. Like the Titans are 1-9. Like the Giants might be picking second overall. I mean, the only team that might sneak in above them is the Jets, because I think the Giants will win a game or two down the stretch probably.
Let me say this: if the Giants do finish with a top 3 pick, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves looking ahead to the draft. What's that?
How is Joe Shane kept again having a top?
That's not where I was going with this.
Okay.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves, of course, looking at the draft order right now, but it's kind of hard not to when you're 2-9. If the Giants are picking top 3 while having a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart, they are due and set up to acquire a king's ransom if they trade down. Like they can rebuild their entire roster. They could trade down maybe 10 picks, probably get an extra first round pick, maybe even a second first round pick, depending on the quarterback talent and the quarterback needs. They will get a king's ransom. Trading down will be a top option for the Giants if they are picking that high this year, because they do have a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart. Alex, they can probably trade down, still land one of these star-studded wide receivers that's entering the draft this year. There's at least 3 that are going to be top 15 picks probably. They could trade down from top 5 to top 15, get an extra first-round pick, probably an extra second, and still land a playmaker for Jackson Dart. They're set up to have a really nice offseason. The big question is going to be, who's going to be running that offseason for the New York Giants? Because even though, if you guys saw the episode that I did yesterday, even though the New York Giants said, for now, Joe Shane is the general manager and he's leading the head coaching search, just because he's leading the head coaching search now does not mean he's going to be the general manager in 2026. His duties as the general manager, he's the general manager for now. Every general manager leads a head coaching search. That doesn't mean that they're going to hire the general manager. It didn't say he was going to lead the hiring process. That's in the offseason. Everything's still on the table, in my opinion, and this is not a good first step. I thought the Giants did a really good job today of taking some of those overlooked draft picks that Joe Shane has had and saying, was it Brian Dable's fault or do they just suck? And we found out today that they just suck. Jalen Hyatt and Deontay Banks. And so I think that was a real big strike on Joe Shane's record. And now, of course, we still have several more games to evaluate those players and evaluate this roster throughout the rest of the season. And also, there's a lot of injuries out there. So maybe you can argue it's not a fair evaluation of Joe Shane. But even still, the Giants are 2-9. They've been 2-8 3 consecutive seasons. It needs to be better. It's not getting better. Let's see if it does by the end of the season. But I still think there's a lot to evaluate with Joe Shane. And I think his firing still is on the table for the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be. Like to write him into that role now would be malpractice. Like this should be an evaluation the rest of the way. So we saw a lot of the pieces that were bad. I mean, they actively try to get Hyatt more involved, and he just could not hang. Like he blew the game, the biggest moment, and it took this long to get Isaiah Hodgins. That's another, I would call. I mean, the fact that Kafka becomes interim head coach and they immediately go get Hodgins, I can't imagine that Kafka didn't have a say in that decision. That's another kind of hit on Shane's record, saying like, why was Hodgins not here before? What, this guy's a productive receiver. I mean, we're running out Bo Collins, we're running out Hyatt, we're running out guys who should not be on the field. You know what I mean? Hodgins is better than Lil Jordan Humphrey, who went back to Denver. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, I don't know if you watched Greg Dulcich at all lately. He's been killing it for the Dolphins since Darren Waller went down. Like, he's a good pass catching tight end. And like, Theo Johnson's been much better lately, so I'll give him credit too. But, they need somebody else out there that can catch the damn ball. So, I think Joe Shane's process is flawed for sure. I think there's a lot of bad. There's some good. It's a very mixed bag. But, like you said, they could go into next year's draft, trade back at a king's ransom. I might even maybe trying to get picks and a player from another team. You know what I mean? I might be trying to get a player, like a proven commodity plus draft capital, because I don't know if I'm Joe, I don't know if I can trust myself to make these picks. You know what I mean? Like, I literally go get a proven commodity, So like maybe that's something they would consider doing in terms of moving back, trying to get an actual like proven piece to plug into the puzzle. But yeah, man, I mean, this is a top 5 picking team right now. I think they're going to win some games down the stretch because we do have some easier opponents along the way. Next week, obviously, we're going up against the Lions, which probably going to get our shit waxed. The Patriots probably going to get our shit waxed. Then we have the Commanders, who, that'll be a competitive game. The Vikings are bad right now. Raiders are bad.
That Commanders game, keep an eye on it, because Jaden Daniels, I know he suffered that gruesome injury. He didn't go on season-ending injured reserve. I'm pretty sure he could potentially return for that game against the New York Giants. So we'll see. Yep. It's a long season still. It's an early end to the season. Giants are like done in November, as always, it feels. But even still, there's a lot to evaluate down this final stretch of the season and plenty of football left to be played and plenty of evaluating to do, not just of the players, but also of the coaching staff. Shane Bowen, I thought, was going to make some tweaks to the defense today, right? Isn't that what we heard all week? I didn't see any tweaks. I still saw Brian Burns dropping back 8 yards off the line of scrimmage in coverage on third down. What are we doing? The Giants are paying Brian Burns over $30 million per season. He has now 13 sacks on the season. He leads the NFL with 13 sacks. That's a career high for Brian Burns, and he's only played in 11 games this season. That's incredible. And yet, the New York Giants want him dropping back in coverage rather than getting after the quarterback on third down. Make that make sense to me. And that just highlights poor coaching to me. Shane Bowen is just not a good coach, not a good defensive coordinator. I really think they should make a change at DC before the season is over and see if this defense can play a little bit better. Bowen should be gone tomorrow, in my opinion, or at least, if they want to wait till the bye week, they can. But I'm tired of watching this defense do inexplicable things and shoot themselves in the foot. They had some good moments today, but they still let up 27 points. And we'll wrap this conversation, Alex, away from the defense. 27 points at home surrendered, but that didn't feel like a home game. The New York Giants are playing on the road when they are at home. That's how it feels. There are so many Packers fans in the stadium. There were so many 49ers fans in the stadium a few weeks ago. It's getting embarrassing. And it's really starting to highlight the apathy that New York Giants fans are feeling, the lack of trust that they have in ownership and management, the lack of excitement that they have for game days, and how tired us New York Giants fans are of all the losing and of all the seasons being finished by early November. It sucks. It really highlights the sad state of affairs that's unfolded for the New York Giants over the last 3 years or expanding over the last decade. And it's kind of disheartening as a Giants fan to witness this happen in real time. Like, I remember, when the Cleveland Browns were so bad that they went 0-16 several years ago. And by the end of the season, every home game was an away game for them. We're at that point now for the New York Giants, the once proud New York Giants, the 100-year-old, 4-time Super Bowl champion New York Giants are playing away games at home. It's really sad. And I hope that ownership recognizes it and they do what they need to do this offseason to make some significant changes and bring about some winning football in 2026.
Yeah. I'll add another layer to that. Like, the stadium itself doesn't draw fans in because it's such a horrible experience. Like, MetLife is just such a garbage stadium. It's so hard to get to. It's just so expensive. Like, you sit in the freezing cold. Like, look at the game this morning between the Commanders and the Dolphins at the Bernabeu in Madrid. If you guys watch any second of that game or seen what people are saying about that, I've been to that stadium. It is one of the most gorgeous stadiums I've ever seen. I've ever been in. It's the most beautiful field, the most beautiful experience, and they have a retractable roof. It is gorgeous. That's how you build something you want people to go to. So even if your team is bad, like the Giants, people will go just for the experience of the stadium, just for like, this is magnificent. This is just the experience of a fan, let alone whether it's a bad or good team. Now, Madrid's obviously fantastic, but they also have this underground grass manufacturing facility, one of the most impressive engineering feats I've ever seen, where they're building 6 different fields. They're growing the grass of 6 different fields simultaneously underneath the stadium so they can replace the grass, right? And you're telling me the NFL can't afford something like that. They can't afford to have just ingenuity when it comes to that and reinvest in their product, reinvest in their players. They just take the cheap route so many times, and it's unfortunate. They could have made it so beautiful. They dumped $1 billion into the toilet bowl in East Rutherford, but it is what it is. Hopefully one day we'll get a stadium that's worth a damn. Fans will go even if the team is back. It's just a great experience. And so they built the most just horrific experience you could ask for. Swirling winds, bad weather, horrible angles, you can't get back to this. If you live in the city, it takes you 2.5 hours to get home after the game. It's a brutal experience, man. Like, I can't believe they built that and they're like, this makes sense. Like, it's just so sad. You see what other I guess countries are doing, other teams are doing. Such a much better experience. It's sad.
You don't even need to look overseas. I mean, MetLife Stadium is just a bland, neutral site. I've been to several games at the Hard Rock Stadium in
Mm.
Miami. It's actually in Hollywood, Florida, but
LA.
that one's a pain in the ass to get to. Let me say that stadium, the parking situation there is a disaster. But when you're in the stadium, I mean, it's awesome. You've got the
Yeah.
coverings, the awnings over top, so you don't get overheated in that Miami sun. It's a beautiful stadium. They've got great food options. They've got awesome club seats. That stadium is great. I've been there several times, always had a good experience. And I can say this, the fans are super involved in the game there. I mean, you can seriously feel the fans make an impact there in a way that I have not experienced before at MetLife Stadium going to a New York Giants game. I've been to several Tampa Bay Buccaneers games over at Raymond James Stadium, one of my favorite stadiums ever. A grass stadium, by the way, a grass stadium that still is a multi-purpose stadium. We always talk about, can the New York Giants have a grass stadium? No, they can't because of the maintenance, because they're multi-purpose and they have concerts. Taylor Swift had her Eras tour over at Raymond James Stadium, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers immediately played a game on their grass like a week later. That's the biggest concert of the year at Raymond James, and then the Bucs playing a game on that grass field at Raymond James. It's totally possible, totally doable. It just takes the ownership of being willing to do it. I've also been to the SoFi Stadium over in Los Angeles. Let me tell you, that thing is a spectacle. That is a modern Coliseum. That place is gorgeous, and it really highlighted to me the significant difference in quality between these more modern stadiums and MetLife Stadium. And the gap is just, you can't even compare the two facilities. It's unbelievable. SoFi Stadium is one of the coolest places I've been to in the world. And I've been to a concert at Allegiant Stadium too. I've been to a lot of stadiums, man. MetLife Stadium, I really do hate to say it. I am a Giants fan. I want MetLife Stadium to be great.
Worst, man.
It is the worst stadium that I've been to in the United States of America.
By far.
Out of all
By
the
far.
major stadiums I've been to.
By far. I lived in Manhattan for 10 years. I went to like 2 games because it would take you an hour and a half to get to the game. And then you would sit outside after the game. After you watch the Giants get their asses whooped, you'd sit outside the game, outside of the stadium, waiting for the train. And if you didn't leave in the third quarter, you're literally sitting there for trains to get 2.5 hours to get home. Hours. And then you have to go to Secaucus Junction and transfer. It's just a miserable experience. Miserable. And like, they don't give a crap. And like, if you're driving, now I live 15 minutes from the stadium. It's fantastic. And I have a car. So like, I can just drive in and out if I want to. But like, they got to give me a reason to go to these games, man. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to these games like that. I'm not going to the game. I'm not sitting in the freezing cold. I like to watch them lose. Like, hell no. Like, I'll go next year if they're good. But like, you know, right now, there's no reason. They got to convince me.
And that's the biggest problem. If you had a great stadium, maybe you still get fans in the stadium, even though the team is bad. But this New York Giants team has a bad stadium and a really bad product that they're putting in the stadium, a bad product on the field, a bad football team. What's the point? I don't blame fans for selling their tickets. Like, some Giants fans get angry and they say, oh, you got to stop selling all your tickets to opposing team fans. Bro, what do you expect? I mean, of course they're going to sell these tickets off. They're not going to go support Mike Kafka-led, Jameis Winston-led New York Giants at 2-9. I'm sorry to say it. Like, I love Jameis Winston. He's awesome. I'm rooting for Mike Kafka. I'm not spending hundreds of dollars to go sit in the cold and watch that product on the field. If the Giants had Dart and a winning record out there, I'm there, bro. I'm at several games per year. But whatever, man. We've gone so far off the path here, but I think you guys get the point. I'm embarrassed for the Giants. I'm sad that this is where they've devolved to as a team, to be away team at home every week and to be 2-9 again, and just to be so bad. It's disheartening as a New York Giants fan, but you know, we'll see ultimately how it goes for the rest of the season as we evaluate Mike Kafka and evaluate Joe Shane's roster ahead of what's going to be a judgment day in early January for Giants ownership as they determine what the right path to take is for the future of this franchise. But at the very least, guys, at least we know the future of this franchise will be led by number 6, Jackson Dart. And I love that kid, and I'm excited to watch him play again. Hopefully he's back on the field next week and healthy. Praying for him, praying for any of the players who got injured today. Of course, there were a couple guys banged up, Paulson Adebo, and pregame warmups, of course, as well. But really looking forward to more breakdowns on the New York Giants. We'll be uploading daily, as always, guys, giving you our analysis and updating you on the Giants head coaching search as we go through the rest of the season. Do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Listen to Apple or Spotify. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go to follow us on all our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Make sure to check out Brunt and use the promo code and click the link down below in the comment section. Really cool boots there. Awesome. Alex has never looked fresher. I've clowned him before for the way that he dresses, but I can't when he's wearing the Brunt boots. I've never clowned Alex for the way he dresses. I'm just messing with him now. But all right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go New York Giants.
Perfect.